Good evening, true seekers and hodlers. Welcome back to the nightly recap where we don't just watch the system burn down, we also sit back and laugh while stacking sats. I am your host, Hotep Jesus, for the nightly recap here on GNN Network, and I am joined by my esteemed, one of my favorite people in the world, Mr. White Privilege, Mr. Langley Landy in the house.
What's up, Hotep? It's been a little while.
It's been too long, way too long. This has been a tumultuous week in the markets. There's only one person we got to talk to find out what the hell is going on with the Illuminati. Why are markets down? When are markets coming back? What's up with the liquidity? Come on, man. Help me out. Navigate me through these tumultuous times, bro.
Well, man, if we were just reading the timeline, we're either just getting started or it's all over, and
That's facts.
that's the most bipolar timeline I've seen in a long time, man.
Yeah.
So we'll break it down. I'll offer some hopium and copium for yourself and the audience. But in reality, nothing much has changed in the macro picture. So, um,
Really?
yeah, it's still a macro uptrend in both traditional markets and Bitcoin. I'm sorry if you hold altcoins.
Oh yeah,
It's
you're
it's been
yeah,
a
you're
rough,
faded.
yeah, it's been rough sledding over there. But you know, if you are confident in the direction that things might go in terms of liquidity in markets, you're going to either have the perspective of, um, everything's going to go to the moon, or it's going to spell further doom. And that's something that we just have to take day by day, week by week right now. And, in a little bit here, as we get into things, if you want to take a look at some charts, I'm sure that you've been looking just as well as I have, that there is some risk to the downside. But, you know, we are also in a key area for Bitcoin, especially. Very key area on a major weekly level between 98 and 101, and the Bulls need to fight back here and try to run things back to the top side. So, and if they're successful in doing so, it's going to be very clear on closes back above the last weekly that was just lost, right around 107 to 108. And then we can start looking to their potential if they can get above, the next bigger area above there, which is around 112. But the risk is that things pop up and reject, right? And that's what many are expecting. But this is a compression. It's price compression. We've been chopping around up here over $100,000 for more than a year now. We officially hit a year above 100,000, or I'm sorry, not above 100,000, but above $69,000 as of just a couple days ago, and it's been a slog the whole way up. Right, feels different this time, doesn't it? Every single time Bitcoin takes off, it then consolidates for months and months on end, and then it takes off for a little while, and then it consolidates for months and months on end, and people are tired. People are tired, and the narrative kind of reflects that right now in the sentiment in the markets. So we'll see. We'll see.
It looks like we're going down, Landy. It looks like we're going to 92,
That is a fair assessment.
93.
It's a fair assessment. And in fact, I just a little while ago, of course, I do my Monday, Wednesday, and Friday recaps of the market for the Gockstein News Network, right? GNN, and just uploaded my Friday wrap up. And one of the key takeaways is that the Bulls still have a chance here at this weekly between 98 and 101, as long as 98 holds, right, on a close. But if it is lost, we'll be testing down to the mid 90s. And likely the next major weekly area around 93 and a half to $89,000 is the bottom side, right where you have that, right where you have your cursor on the chart there. It's going to be 93.5 on the close open to that low at 89. And that also, that low at 89 in and around there is also the high side of that lower high on the weekly. So there's a big inflection point down there. And realistically, if you look left, I mean, right there on your chart, price is in the mix on the weekly of a bunch of highs and a bunch of higher lows. Um, After just losing the last higher low on the weekly for Bitcoin, this does put the bears in the driver's seat at the moment. But if they can't push things further down on a closing basis, they have to be aware that the bulls could actually run the table back to the top side because this is just price compression at the highs.
Now, when you say price compression, what do you mean by that? Consolidation?
Yeah, consolidation. Yeah, and you might remember that I showed you the Bollinger Bands.
Yeah.
Um, and I can, if you want to switch over to my screen, I can share it over here. The Bollinger Bands on the weekly are painting a very clear picture here. This is the tightest compression we've seen on a weekly in, well, a very long time. In fact, I'm going to adjust this to give you some metrics for the weekly. This is using Caretaker's BBWP. This is a free indicator that I've paired with my bands, and shout out to Caretaker because I've integrated that calculation into my free Bollinger Band indicator here. Look, this is one of the deepest compressions we've had for a while, or consolidations that we've had for a while here on the weekly. And there's one of two ways it's going to go. If it closes below the lower second standard deviation, that kicks off an expansion and volatility, right? So, but the way to resolve this in an expansive manner would not just be to close below this lower second standard deviation, which is right around 104. I'd give it room. You want to see closes back above, if you're bullish, back above 104.5 by this weekend. But we would need to see a close below this lower second and a break of this low at 98,225, and that would be expansion into the next bigger area. So realistically, what we're looking at is if we were to get expansion in the next bigger area, it would essentially be this area down here, right? So you get below the lower second, volatility is increasing, and then criteria breaking below this this next low on the weekly would be expansion into the next zone, which would be that area that we just talked about, around 93 to 89 on the top side. Some will take it all the way down to the close, from the close open higher low to the close open lower high at 86. That'd be the next big area of interest to the downside if that were to occur, right? So it would be, expansion. We're already below the highs here, right? And then it'd just be about losing this low. And then you go, essentially, you look left and you say, okay, if we're below the highs, we work the lows to the next lows to the next high, right? You work in order in terms of areas of interest to the downside for liquidity. By the way, this is the way market makers do it anyway, right? They follow the auction and then they have key levels, right, that they're watching.
Mhm.
A lot of algo traders do this, or algos do this as well, and high frequency trading algorithms for larger firms. And then, of course, they have proprietary stuff. But right now, we're sitting on this higher low right here. And we did lose the higher low that was put in here before the higher high. So what we have now is a trendless structure, right? We have a higher high with a higher high close to a lower low, right? We had an uptrend and then a higher low to higher high, and now we have a lower low structure. No matter where this closes, right? If we were to close all the way back up above 108.7, then it can fend off the closing lower low, but we have a lower low swing right now. So structure is beginning to change, but we're moving from an uptrend to a transitionary period. And this is where bulls and bears need to be careful. So bears need to see a breakdown below this low here, 101 to 98, and a clear break of the downside, right? Not just a swing down on the daily and a dip into these zones and then a buy back up. They need to see a clear close below 98 to get expansion rolling to the downside into further support if it hasn't already been hit.
On the weekly.
On the weekly. Yeah. Or else they can have the tables run on them, because when we see really tight compression like this, this could very easily slingshot right back to the top side. right? And run the highs again. So that's a distinct possibility. Now, of course, there's overhead resistance that Bitcoin needs to get back above, right? The last higher low in the weekly, and then it's got to contend with the highs again. So we're looking at 107 to essentially 112 on a longer time frame, like a weekly. So the bulls need to recover this low to this high side structure, which incorporates these highs over here. And of course, they need to contend with these highs already around the 104.5, which, by the way, just so happens to be the lower second standard deviation. This high over here on a close open for the weekly is right there at 104.5, which is the criteria that the bulls really are shooting for this weekend to try and close above. That would give them the opportunity, I think, to start running, this swing at 109, which is right here in the midst of this low at 107, and then try to work their way up, possibly above 112. They're still not out of the woods, right? They're still in the bearish half of bands, threatening downside expansion, but it would give them a chance to get back in the midst of this range up here and try to push for the areas that were just rejected up here, right around 116 and slightly above. And if we see price trading above there, they could easily run the top side. But what's the criteria? We're all squeezed up here. It's just a consolidation, right? They need to close above the upper second and the actual all-time high to kick off a run, right? So the bears actually have the tougher job to do, and that's break below this low and start running this low side structure and this high side structure down here on expansion. So this would be expansion into support. They've got a tough job, right? The bulls, which the bears have to be aware of, if the bulls run the tables back to the top side, they got an easy job. If they get through the local resistances here, all they have to do is close above the all-time high and they kick off expansion on a weekly time frame, which would be expansion to much, deeper prices. We're talking, above the all-time high on weekly closes, probably, we're looking at basically on closes above about 128 to 130. We're looking for probably 138, 140, and then continuation possible to 148 to 150.
I got a dumb question for you. How do you draw those faded boxes like that? What tool is that called?
That is under your brush tool. You'll have the rectangle shapes.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, and then you can come in here to the rectangle shapes settings.
Uh-huh.
And you can have
remove the border.
Yeah, you can do without border, and you can do extend left and right if you'd like. Otherwise, it's going to draw a border around it, and you have to draw the box sizes.
Oh, you the man, bro.
Yeah,
you the man. Thank you, sir.
No worries.
So let's deal with the why. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Let's deal with the why, Landy. Why did the market dip this week? That's what people want to know. Because the why is very important, and you can find the next trend, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, it was being telegraphed in markets kind of across the board. Liquidity is getting squeezed, and especially towards the end of the month with kind of taxes and everything coming up, coming into the 31st. Many were making a big deal about the SRF, which was the standing repo facility, which is the permanent Federal Reserve repo facility that essentially a lot of players went to in the last week of last month into the first week of this month for liquidity because the government shut down, right?
Right.
And what an SRF is essentially you're an institution with a Fed account. You can swap treasuries for cash with the Fed.
Right.
Many were calling this like, oh, look, money printer
They're printing money. Yeah.
But that's not what that is. It's a swap.
Like, shut up, yo. Y'all, they so fucking rich. They piss me off when they do that shit. Oh, they're printing money. I'm like, because it is, the problem is when there is real quantitative easing, it's like, like you got to know the difference between these things. And I hate when people do that. I'm like, they're not printing money, right?
Yeah. And for those in the audience, what Hotep and I are really talking about is there was a narrative going around that because they saw $28 billion of inflows into the standing repo facility on the 31st, there is some that overestimate because they calculate other things, but Fed official numbers about 28 billion for the 31st. They were saying that was money printing, but it's actually not because they're swapping assets, right? That you're giving You're giving the Fed treasuries or an asset, and they're giving you cash.
Right.
And it's just overnight. And they did this throughout the first week, the last week of the month, to the first week of this month. And there's been a little bit here and there.
But there is a little bit to be alarmed about from the banks, right?
Yeah, I
Because
mean,
the fact that the banks needed the cash says something.
it does say something. It's because it's because of the government shutdown, and this puts a squeeze on liquidity.
Hmm.
But the fact that the Fed has had this backstop in place, and by the way, this permanent repo facility was from, I believe, July of 2021. Many
Hmm.
people don't really know that. They think that there's always been a permanent repo facility. No, there's been temporary repo facilities that have been stood up over time by the Fed where you can swap assets. Usually they have, of course, their reverse repo for overnight, which is
Hmm.
where, you're giving
Cash.
them cash and they're giving you treasuries, right?
Right.
So you're parking for yield. And realistically, what this did is this helped keep the cap on rates, right? The federal funds rates.
Mm.
That's really what this was about. It was, and a lot of people are being alarmist about the liquidity side of things, but realistically, it was to prevent rates from climbing right after a cut, because we just had that cut in the last week of October, right? We just had post FOMC. We brought rates down by 25 basis points. And then, of course, you have kind of year ending stuff happening right around this time to prepare for next year.
Hmm.
So it would have been alarming if they were swapping somewhere in the neighborhood of like 150 billion. But a lot of people are making a big deal about, like, well, the repo facility, this is the largest number since since the 2020, and we all know what happened then. It's obvious, and it's like, come on, you're being hyperbolic at this point.
Yeah.
It was a relatively small amount because we've been using the standing repo facility for years now.
Mm.
We're going to be going on 5 years next year with this repo facility.
Markel asks, how significant are the repo markets on the overall market, stocks included?
It can give you a bias for what's happening as stress points within the market for liquidity and how that affects the bond market, right? We've had a lot of treasury issuance this year, a lot of short-term treasury issuance as the treasury is trying to clear high interest debt and roll it into lower interest debt, and also fight for liquidity. Um, so, that's put a lot of pressure on the supply and demand of the short end of the curve. And then you have the Fed now dropping rates. And if you get liquidity crunches, what you'll see is the Treasury market gets over top of the Fed funds rate and starts pushing Fed funds rates up and overnight up.
Hmm.
So liquidity needs to be provided. There is an interplay there where you can watch to see, like, how stressed is the system, and the repo markets, meaning the standing repo facility and the reverse repo, which are overnight swaps, right, are going to be indicative of how stressed the system is. I'm going to tell you right now, when we say that when Jerome Powell says that they have tools at their disposal, they have plenty of tools at their disposal,
They
right?
could make up new tools if they want to.
They could, and this is the funny part, is they could literally flip the balance sheet expansion, which is soft QE, and then move right into QE, and they're going to have to do that to buoy demand, right?
Right.
Because they're the buyer of last resort. So for anybody that hasn't been paying attention, they've ended QT, right? They cut
Mhm.
rates, ended QT. Eventually, as rates continue to come down, if demand doesn't come in, they start balance sheet expansion, which is soft QE, which is meaning they're loading up their balance sheet again, right? So their
Mhm.
asset side of their sheet starts to bloat. But there's no, like, hey, we have a set amount of tranche buys that we're going to be doing on a regular basis, which is QE. And that will eventually happen once they get to a point where that tipping point between supply and demand is starting to tip more towards there is more supply than demand and rates have to fly up. They're going to step in, they'll start to QE, and that's when money printer actually goes burr. and
Mhm.
um, and that's where liquidity is very, very prevalent. And of course, inflation consequences are always on the other side of that.
So this week was an extremely interesting week. I don't know if you agree with this or not, but I mean, all of the indexes are being held up basically by Nvidia. and the other AI stocks, right?
Yeah,
So,
they are. Yeah, they are. Oh man.
so with Nvidia falling, it looks, well. Let's just say we're taking the veil off what's really happening in the markets, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, when you get the Mag 7, when you get Nvidia as the Pied Piper of potentially terrible things to come for the market, as it's just been ripping to the upside. I mean, look at that low, that 40. You remember that Q1 to Q2 transition? I talked about it a lot last year, that we were going to see a big move down, right?
Hmm.
And Nvidia had that 43% crash in the markets, which was a compression to expansion, and then just V recovered right back to the top side. Now we're back in a compression for Nvidia. So this is where, again, if liquidity it continues to dry up, we could see this test down to the bottom side here at 164, and a lot of people would be screaming, "Oh my God, it's all over!" But reality is, it can swing it safely as long as it doesn't close below. And
Hmm.
that wouldn't even be expansion, at least not yet. Next week we'll see how tight the bands are here, but usually you'll get initial support there and a bounce. Right now, this is rejecting going into another expansive leg, and this is more of a consolidation look for Nvidia at the moment. Are there risks? Is there a lot of macro economists screaming and crying and kicking and screaming and writhing on the floor about what's happening? Of course, that's what they always do. And when you start seeing them on TV, just understand that a lot of the macro economists that you see on TV have very clear vested interests. So look in the
Hmm.
background and like what companies they're connected to and all that kind of stuff.
Who's the guy from Big Short? Buddy, what's his name? Brody, what's his name?
Oh my god. um, so
Because he had a big
yes,
spat this week with the Palantir CEO and whatnot.
he went short. He went short. Michael Burry.
Yeah, Michael Burry. There you go.
I'm gonna start calling him Michael Brody just because I can at this point. Like I mean, he was very famous for a call that many got right, but he turned into a marketing campaign,
Right,
right? And obviously he did really well, and it was a great call. But he wasn't the only one in those markets that was hedged for downside. Are you kidding me?
right. You're talking about the 2008, right?
Yeah, the financial crisis. Yeah, I mean, look, he got famous for being loud about it coming and being right about it happening, right?
Yeah. So
And
now
he's
everybody who's an idiot is basically like, oh, whatever he says is God.
Yeah, and there was, trust me, there was a lot of people talking about it that got it right. But he credit to him. He turned it into an into a marketing opportunity, and he
Hmm.
also was right, right? And he got it right. But a lot of people forget that he's also got a lot of things wrong as well. And
Hmm.
that's okay, right?
Hmm.
And I think he'd say the same thing, right? I would, if he's humble. I don't, it's not like I've talked to the guy, but I think he'd say the same thing. It's about your P&L at the end of the day, and hedging against AI makes sense when it's on an absolute tear and there's the possibility for a correction, and maybe you can goose that correction by having a little bit of pull in the markets, right?
And then he published his numbers like a week early,
Yes, exactly.
which kind of spooked the markets, or at least that's what they're saying.
Yeah. I mean, how realistic is that? I don't know. I look, a lot of people cry manipulation when price goes up, and then they cry manipulation when price goes down. It's just markets, baby. You either
Right.
play the game or don't play at all, right?
Right.
Like, um, and realistically, I think that the AI sector is overvalued. What I think is undervalued is AI products, right? I think that the
Mm.
actual companies are way over their MNAV. They have very high costs, and while
They
they're
do have
making
high costs.
yeah, while they're making a lot of money now, that can change very quickly, right?
Yeah.
All and realistically, until we see energy costs come down exponentially,
Mm. Mm.
um, that's not going to. We have a power problem
Yep.
in AI, right?
Yep. Yep.
that needs to be solved. And once that's solved, then you can expand the profit side of the balance, the earnings side, right? Will
Right.
exponentially expand to catch up to the current MNAV. But this is all speculation. I mean, we're valuing these companies for profits and earnings that they have not yet seen,
Mm-hmm.
right? So realistically, I think they're out over their skis and need a larger correction. But until we get it, you have to go with the trend. The trend is your friend until the end of the trend.
Right.
And when the trend is unclear, like in Bitcoin, then everybody's in fear. It doesn't matter if you're bull or bear. Everybody's just going to speculate until it breaks one way or the other.
Mm-hmm. Let's take a look at. I mean, we can stay here with the Nvidia chart, right? And if you see right there, we got the hammer on the weekly. I mean, on the daily.
Yeah, and then the hammer off the bottom side. Yeah.
Yeah, hammer off the bottom side there, going into next week. My prediction is we are going up next week, at least some, but there is tremendous potential for a downside. David.
Yeah. I think
I
that
just want to say Landy is fudding the market. He's sending Bitcoin down. Anybody who's watching this program right now, unfollow this man. He's making videos about Bitcoin going to zero because he wants your Bitcoin. You feel me? Okay? This man is trying to take everything from you. Everything. He came on a Saturday to make a video fudding Bitcoin even more.
Wait a minute. That Saturday, I was talking about the breakdown to the 101 zone.
I don't care what you got to say.
They call me a puppet. Look at this Jewish guy in the suit over here. Look at this Jewish guy in the suit over here.
This Jewish guy was buying up when you were fudding Bitcoin. And by the way, that did not come from GNN, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, he fudded on his own.
Hey,
have you checked out the X spaces this man's been on? He's been telling everybody to sell.
Said the day. No, this is I am being fudded, and I'm being fudded because this Jewish man is afraid of the Langley Landy puppet. He's afraid of the CIA coming to get him. Look at him. He uses just for Memdami. All right. You see that beard color?
Let me tell you something right now. I know your game, bro. Okay, I'm on to you. All right. You think you're cool? You think you're slick with your little charts? Think you're slick?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and you're sending Hotep some weird ass monkeys holding dildos. we know. We know what the psyop you're trying to put out here, man. I know, man. I know. I just wanted to come on here and say, man, Hotep, don't fall for this shit. Do not fall for this shit.
You know me. I want Bitcoin at 50,000, man.
You know what? All these people crying, oh my God, this might go to 70. Good. You know what you should be doing? Tear down the walls in your house. Okay, steal your. No, I won't say that. But tell grandma to get into. Tell her that your whole. Never mind. Fuck it.
Hotep, you should have warned me that you were going to bring the mayor of New York City on.
Listen, you know what? You know what?
We got Zohar Mamdami here, folks.
Hotep won't come on my show. Okay, I don't even know why.
That's not true.
I got to bring Landy on. To just fill time.
To fill time. Ouch. Oh, damn. Woo.
I'm over here taking notes and shit.
Shout out to my boy Hotep. He on Fox delivering jokes. Okay. That's what I'm loving. I love seeing that. You know what? I love seeing people win.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you.
That's what happens when you're not a hater, bro. Like, you love seeing, congratulations to Hotep. He's out there. Rogan, Fox, Comedy Central, I don't know, roasting people. He's out there. What are you doing, Landy? Fudding for positions. People tuning into you for hope. You give them none.
It's that look. If I was the Barack Obama of Bitcoin, then I'd be selling you hope all day, but not delivering it.
Hold on, somebody just said как дела, David? Everything good, bratan? Да, блядь. But this хуй тоже тут. He's funning out here in these streets. By the way, I called you a cocksucker in Russian, but anyway.
Yeah,
We're
thanks.
bilingual.
Ah,
But shout out to you guys. You guys do an amazing job. I'm out. But shout out to Hotep. Jesus. Yo, you don't know what's happening. Yo, you guys you do not understand what the fuck I'm working on. You guys do not understand. I'm out. Jewish man out.
We got official footage right here of
Yo, who did that just now?
It's a bear market. It's a bear market.
Yo,
We got Dave coping with the bears.
Wow, they really took the Bobo is me theme and ran with it. Holy shit.
oh man!
Holy shit.
Shout out Graphics Guy Renee.
Somebody frame that. Oh,
Yo,
man.
Hotep Jesus wants to shit. You know what? I think Hotep and Landy are in on it. Because Hotep has called all you crypto dorks out. Yeah, last week he called you out. Said you guys know nothing about nothing. I agree with him. Absolutely 100%. And he's like, I want this shit to go to $3. So I see, I you know what? I think you and Landy are on phone calls trying to FUD the markets. I think it's Landy selling his positions. Sell pressure. I get it. I see it now. Him and his homies. Him and his Jewish homies behind the scenes.
Might be a little something going on. Might be a little something going on.
Deuces. The Jews out.
Landy, teach me how to read the RSI, right? Because I'm on the I'm looking at the, let's go based upon the spider, right? If I go to the 1 week, do you use the RSI?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So if I'm looking at the RSI correctly here, let me just fix this. If I'm looking at it correctly here, we should be coming down. The next low is probably, yeah. If we're going based upon the spot, the next low is 653-ish. If we're going based upon the RSI.
Where the previous low was at a 32 and a half, 32 and a quarter read. In fact, we can take a look at that. I have a fancy indicator that is a paid indicator that I'm not associated with, that people can look up on their own. Mm-hmm. So we can actually take and we can say what would a 32 look like, meaning what would that price point be? That would be 660. Would be a 32, and that would be a slightly lower low read on RSI, but that would be down around a 660. Mm-hmm. And then we can take a look at, we've had some gap fills on the way down, and we've been filling the gaps with the exception of this little gap on the way down. We went back up to fill in the lower term timeframes here, but realistically, where is 660? It's the lower second standard deviation, right?
Yeah.
And this coming from a compression into an expansion, when coming back down into a compressive look like this, lower seconds typically act as a support area of interest. And on the way back up, basis band upper first, which is right here at that gap at 682, would act as resistance until we resolve the compression again by closing above the upper second or below the lower second. And remember, if we close below the lower second, that's just expansion into the next low, right? Which would be around the 653 level. So that would be, 653 would probably be more towards a.
It's 660. I said it wrong. My bad.
Yeah.
I got the line on my screen at 660. Yeah.
Yeah. And honestly, what the bulls want to see for the daily is a move down here that does put in a low around support with a lower low on RSI, right? The bulls want to see a lower low relative to this RSI with a higher low on price action to create a bullish divergence, right? So essentially what the bulls want to see is something like, this coming down here and swinging down and then coming back up and then you have then you get a bullish divergence between these two lows, and that would be, good enough for a bounce at the very least.
Mhm.
But it has to maintain structure relative to the last time that we saw RSI down at this area,
Mhm.
and that was that 653 close and then swing area. So that was the last low. Just need to see closes above there with a little bit lower low RSI to get that bullish divergence, which would be testing that area. But again, it's right on the razor's edge for the bulls, because if they lose it, it's going to go down further.
Right. Monday is going to tell a lot.
I agree. After the first, full week of price action for the monthly, because last week it was a Friday into, the first full week. We had the start of the week on Saturday. Sundays, really, it's Sunday to Sunday for anybody that's paying attention, especially to CME. First full week in the books. I think next week's very, very important. It's going to tell us a lot about, I think, a lot about how November is going to turn out. And realistically, it makes sense for the market to hedge while the government's closed.
Right.
So,
that run up at the end of the day today,
beautiful, huh?
that was crazy.
Yeah, man, look at that.
It the spider filled the gap.
Yep, right there.
What the hell is that about?
SPX, yep, spider just came right up. It tapped it higher low and then reclaimed it.
Yeah. That is insane, bro. I feel like they're playing games with us, Landy.
Look, I mean,
your friends, come on, Landy. Your friends are playing games. There's some manipulation going on here.
It's natural movements in the market, and there is a lot of covering and hedging that needs to occur. So you might as well arb the range, right? So here's the thing: you run things up, you get short on the CME side of the trade. You start letting the quote unquote spot side of the trade, right? Because you go short on the futures side, you let go of the spot side of a trade, and then you start picking that up as you're taking off some of the profits from the short side of the trade. You flush that into the long side of the trade, and you begin building an arb range, right? And that is how markets work. And shocks to those markets is when we see the larger unwinds, right? And I'm not looking at anything truly shocking coming into the markets. I mean, even economic data that's coming out is now finally reflecting what the administration has been screaming about all year, and that is a slowdown that they wanted the Fed to get ahead of. But one of the interesting things is we're seeing like PMI prices coming down, right? So we're seeing prices come down. And just so everybody understands, when you see price coming down, everybody's happy because like, oh, inflation's coming down. But when you see inflation coming down and prices coming down, that also means that margins are getting squeezed, right? So cheaper oil too. Cheaper oil is going to squeeze down, prices and margins and profits, and things come down when you see that.
We got a question here from Markel. He says, shout out to Markel. He runs the Hotep stand trade desk. He says, with AI being such a historical shift, allegedly, do you guys think we are still undervalued or overvalued?
I think we're overvalued on the share price side and MNAV side of a lot of these AI firms. The main AI firm being NVIDIA. And we are undervalued on the product side.
That's a good way to put it. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
That's exactly how I see it.
I know. I listened to you.
Oh, you heard me say it before?
Yes, I've heard you say it, and I'm like, I'm shaking my head yes behind this. Yep, I 100% agree with you, Hotep.
Yeah, we're still early on the product side of things, but this big run-up we had definitely inflated prices relative to where AI is.
Yeah.
Because, we had the CEO of Microsoft come out, and he's like, bro, I got chips I could turn on right now, but I don't got enough power.
So he sold them to where? The
What did he sell them
UAE,
to?
Saudi Arabia, and the UAE.
Did he sell that power to them?
He sold
Did, did-
essentially parts of the AI cluster stack because you can't power it.
really?
Yeah, they can.
Wow.
They have the energy to do it. We don't.
Oh, okay.
Look,
Interesting.
we're screwed if we don't start picking up the pace with energy here in the United States. Energy production needs
Man.
to rise exponentially.
I think they are going to be because Jensen Huang was all over Trump's ass this week. He was teasing about China being further along, et cetera, et cetera. But I think it's going to be a big squeeze. The only thing is, are the Democrats going to allow it? But I think the Illuminati be able to get this through. And I know Iowa's looking to open up some nuclear, but yeah.
And never bet against the Illuminati.
Never. If they want control, because AI is communism, right? So if they really want to get this, this
if they
all
want you,
encompassing
if they want
control,
UBI, right?
right?
Like they have to have these systems up and running and working. You need the power to do it.
Yeah.
You know what I find interesting about that? One of the main reasons why we're not seeing, yes, oil's down. One of the reasons why we're not seeing the power production really increase exponentially, which I do think it's going to be a slower ramp up, right? One of the main reasons why we're not seeing it exponentially grow, because we can here in the United States, is because if you exponentially grow your energy capacity, you will also exponentially bring prices down for everything, which will collapse your economic side of things, right? So cheaper energy leads to a downturn in markets because you're now squeezing profits and earnings. Um, and if it's not done in a slower, holistic fashion, you can't balance the two. And I really do think that they're going to try and skirt the line and balance those two. And at the end of the day, we have the ability, and we're holding ourselves back on purpose to buoy markets.
Renee says, does Landy use the Heiken ashy candles?
I check them every once in a while.
What are those?
It's a different way of averaging how the candle closes are looking based on the open, high, low close is typically what we use, and it uses a different calculation. It's a little, if I get too far into it, it's a little bit going to be a little bit over people's heads, but right, throwing a doji on Heiken Ashi for Nvidia tells me that if this can recover well on the daily coming into earnings, it's probably going to be fine, and at least be able to run the highs inside of this compression. And there is safe room to the downside for the lows to that 178 low. So and this is still indicative of a strong trend going into a compression where things can kind of knock around and run both sides before finally resolving either to more upside or a larger correction to the downside. I'm going to be honest with everybody. I want to see MNAVs get squeezed, right? This is really, I
You
want
say MNAVs, what do you mean?
So market net asset value. So it's your market cap to your net asset value. So
Okay.
and anything over one is a premium and anything under one is a discount.
Right.
And a lot of these companies are way out over their skis on MNAV. You can look at the Bitcoin treasury companies. Now, granted, strategy is sitting at like a 1.15. They probably go into a discount window pretty soon if Bitcoin does resolve to the downside further. But realistically, you need to see MNAV get squeezed to separate the wheat from the chaff, right? To separate the contenders from the pretenders. I put it this way on the timeline the other day. Let me go and see what exactly I said. It was late. And I was like trying to figure out like something witty to say. Oh, this is what I said, because this is something that I have said quite often before. And because I was referring to digital asset treasuries, right? DATs, your Bitcoin treasuries, your Ethereum treasuries. But realistically, you can extend this across the market in the Mag 7, right? And you can look at Nvidia and you can stare at that too. And that is that bear trends don't kill the strong, they starve the weak, right? And That is my own original quote. I just took that from, separate the wheat from the chaff. And I've been saying this for years because downtrends will show you who are the contenders and who are the pretenders. Nvidia is a contender, but there's a lot of pretenders in this market that don't have they're not where they say they are, right? Nvidia is literally powering the AI revolution.
Right.
So they can afford to be speculative and far over their skis with MNAV.
Right.
So, and we're going to get earnings very soon for Nvidia, right?
12
So
days.
yeah, we're not far off. And I was just looking at their sheet here. Projected their market capitalization 4.57 trillion, which is wild, by the way. That's freaking wild. No one would have predicted that, even in the most bullish scenarios. But looking at where projections are coming in for estimates coming in here, we're looking at an estimated 1.25. So, they were they were in a discount window, which is why we saw the big run up, right? And that discount window was really that Q1 to Q2 big sell off, that 43% drawdown. That was a beautiful time to get in. That was a beautiful time to buy for longer term or take leaps. As I don't think we'd be revisiting that except in very, very extreme scenarios where you'd want to be buying anyway.
Energy being nuclear specifically?
Well, we could spin up nuclear. It's just the regulatory side of things makes it a slog right now.
Right.
If the administration can clear the path.
But I think nuclear is what you want to power AI, right? Because everything else doesn't provide enough power.
Yeah, and it's clean and it's safe,
Yeah.
right? Like what, instead of clearing land and harming entire ecosystems with solar farms and wind farms, you can fire up nuclear. You have a smaller footprint. You get exponentially more power efficient out of it. And there's little to no emissions, and they're very, very safe. I mean, the FUD campaign against nuclear energy has been wild to watch. In my lifetime, because it's some of the cleanest energy that you can produce. We just hear about the big disasters. The most recent one in Japan, right? In the large disaster that they had there. But, the cleanup was very quick, and there was people, that were going in and are perfectly safe, right? Like, we've been lied to a lot about it.
He was asking about the indices, energy in the indices specifically.
Well, nuclear is being factored in, and I think it's undervalued. But you need the narrative. You need a real movement on regulation in the United States to really make nuclear go, nuclear to the upside.
Right. Whew. Okay, I'm gonna be looking at charts this weekend and trying to see what levels are on a few things. Are you looking at any stocks next week or in AI? What do you like in AI?
In AI, little less AI. So one of the things that you've probably noticed as well is a lot of Bitcoin miners are partnering with AI miners,
right,
or AI companies, right?
Yeah,
and also integrating a lot of AI into the Bitcoin mining facilities because you can offset the costs with Bitcoin mining.
right.
And also, Bitcoin miners have a lot of access to already existing cheap energy and off grid. So it's a very nice pairing. And a shout out to a good friend of mine, Alpha Gamer out there, who often brings up the WGMI. And we're going to have to go. It's WAGMI. Why am I not thinking of the right ticker? I usually have it saved, but this isn't the right setup for it. But essentially your IRINs and so on and so forth. I think you were looking at IRIN not too long ago.
Yeah.
Right. We had the big run up, on some announcements, and it's been chopping around in a zone. But I mean,
even when you look at Iran, like on the weekly, even though the candles are red, it's still higher highs. It's weird.
Yeah, I mean, look, this could potentially correct hard on closes below 48.37. Then we're correcting back down to, potentially all the way back to some of these opens over here at the 30 with pauses along the way in the mid 30s. But realistically, at some point, this is going to come down. What goes up must come down. And that's where I'm looking for opportunity, because I was pretty early to a lot of this stuff during some of the consolidations, and I went on an absolute tear, a buying spree, Q1 to Q2. Right, I was just across the board, stock market, crypto, everything. Right,
Mhm.
I was going giga long, and I've been in those longs, whether it be the month to month or quarter to quarter or leaps for
Mhm.
options. And then also just actively trading as well. So I'm looking for opportunity. There's no reason for me to get long here, right? Like I'm looking for hedges at this point, because I got to hedge my portfolio. When you have something to protect, by the way, and when you hear people like me talking about going short, right? And this is for the audience. When you hear about me going short, it's because I'm protecting a portfolio, man. Like I got to preserve that profit, right? So I'm protecting and building out the short side of positions, taking advantage of drawdowns in the near term, and then repositioning those on a consistent basis to hedge my portfolio against that potential downside in those corrections, so that I got fatter bags to load back up. I mean, I'm a bull. And look, fiat is not going to be going anywhere anytime soon, and it's going to keep inflating, right? Which is going to devalue our actual monetary base, right? So you can bet on that. You can absolutely assure yourselves of that, right? So, like, I'm looking for the next larger correction, and could we be seeing potentially that starting to show itself? Yeah, because it's seasonal, and the prep for next year is on. It's absolutely on the board. We could still see some last run ups though, but we will see corrections in the near term that could be potentially larger, and everyone will scream and cry, and they'll scream bear market, and it's all over, and pack it up for the next 3 years, and
I gotta get a job at
yeah,
McDonald's.
like oh man, Snap dried up, and now my portfolio's down. Oh, I'm screwed. Now I got to go work at McDonald's next to the robots. Look, it's I think that a larger correction would actually be very healthy.
Yeah, yeah, especially for me.
Yeah, right?
Especially for me.
Yeah, we're a little greedy out here. I need that. I need that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I pray for dips. I pray for dips. Shout out Declassified. He said that's how I did the AMD play from yesterday's show, HJ. But week call 2 week out and a put for today. The put's paid. Yeah,
Yep.
that's
Yeah.
smart. That's smart.
Yeah, I mean, if you're just coming into this and you're trying to place bets and you don't have anything to protect, though, you got to be very careful, because the highs can be very, very choppy, even if things will correct ultimately.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look at Iron. It's up there, man. It is at some hot levels, but that doesn't mean that it can't correct, come back up, and make higher highs with lower highs on RSI, for instance, and get a bearish divergence like what we saw back here prior to the big old runoff, right? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it made slightly higher highs. It carved out a nice low, made slightly higher highs, through the bearish divergence, went into a downtrend here, and then boom, down, found its base, and then right back to the upside. So, it can still keep chugging along, even if the near term is going to be a much wider correction coming. It can still chop around highs and fake people out and run off and grab your liquidity. So you do have to just play it day by day, week by week, when we're on runs like this.
Mm-hmm. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Crypto Landy. Make sure y'all follow him. I just had somebody ask me in my mentions. They were like, "Yo, what's that thing you got?" I'm like, "It's Landy bands," and I tagged you so he can go to your profile and get those. Make sure y'all get the Landy bands. Super useful. They got the SMAs on there, the moving averages.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Yeah, you can. This is actually set up for those that are interested. This is set up. It's a free indicator, because there's been some really great devs in TradingView that have allowed me to pilfer their code. As long as the indicator is free, so it is free. It's got Bollinger Bands, but you can customize moving averages on here. You can throw those on. You can change what they are. Like I was joking around with 369, 169, 269, and 369s, because that's always funny to do.
Mm-hmm.
Especially on dailies. I think I think one of the reasons why I did that, but you can throw moving averages, you can turn off the Bollinger Bands. But I really enjoyed the SMA 269 poke, which was right at a major fib level. So I was joking around, but you can change these to be whatever SMAs or EMAs and the length. And then, of course, there's don't change BBWP settings. Those are really well tuned. But you can turn on like a super trend if you want.
Dave, huh?
This is kind of tailored to those who want, who are on like a free plan and only can have one indicator. And now you have multiple things inside of that one indicator.
Got you. Wait, how do I? Renee
So when you
something
settings,
he just made a clip.
oh.
What is this clip, Renee?
What is it? Oh, wait a minute. Let me click on that.
Oh, Renee, he clipped it from when Renee's a bear. We call him Hotep Bearish. He's a bear. Dave said, send BTC to 200K. Landy, thank you for coming through tonight. I appreciate you for hanging in there with me.
Thanks, Hotep.
Another nightly recap on the GNN network. We'll be back next week with more fantastic coverage. Thank you for tuning in, y'all. W's in the chat. W's in the chat. W's in the chat. Go have fun. Enjoy the weekend. Don't look at the charts too much.